Guys, I'm going to give my closing thoughts on everything, as well as talk about some things internally that was shared with me. And this was enlightening to me. I've gone on and since taken down the first video we put up, which was the message to the Destiny community. You got to understand, guys, this past week, we've gotten a flood of different messages in regards to Destiny 2, to Marathon, to Bungie. Some of those details did get muddled, but nonetheless, I felt like the video we put out the other day actually hurt things more than it helped. It's easy to just look around and say, hey, what can we blame? And unfortunately, Marathon has been a target because from the moment it was announced, from the moment that we saw that it had dedicated servers, I, like you, felt betrayed. Seeing super creative developers leave Destiny 2 to then go work on Marathon, that put a bad taste in my mouth. Because at the end of the day, I, like probably many of you, just want more Destiny content. And not just any content, we want good content. We want phenomenal content. We want Forsaken level content. We want innovation. We want things to not only challenge us, but intrigue us, excite us, not just in his first few weeks, but beyond that. Something that makes that entire year of Destiny truly stand out, which is why we're making today's video, guys. I need to give some clarifications on everything. First up, whether Bungie had a meeting with Tarkov streamers or not, and whether they liked Marathon or not, at this point, it's irrelevant to me. Now, from other sources, it's pretty much been confirmed that that meeting did take place. From Destiny Bulletin here, another creator who attended the Marathon Summit says no one raised their hand when asked if they played the game if it came out tomorrow, because Bungie was clear that the gameplay was in a pre-alpha state and the release was still years away. The article goes on to state that a trusted content creator source who wished to remain anonymous and who also attended the summit reached out to offer us an alternative view of events. They suggested that Bungie was clear that the gameplay experience was a pre-alpha state and that Marathon was still years away. The point of the event, in their take, was specifically to get feedback and to help shape the future of the game. Now, guys, I only bring this up because I feel like I painted a very bleak picture when I first talked about this. The reality is that I was not in that room. I have not played Marathon. I am probably not going to be the demographic Bungie is going for when it comes to Marathon. Do I play PvP games? Yes. I might actually go dabble in Tarkov and other extraction shooters just to kind of get a feel of how those games play. That way I have something to compare it to when Marathon comes out, and I do plan on reviewing Marathon when that time comes. But at this point, I feel like I'm probably just hating on a game while it's in its pre-alpha stage for no other reason than it potentially taking attention away from Destiny 2. And to you guys, I apologize for that. I let my own biases cloud my judgment when at the end of the day, when the time comes, I should give Marathon a fair shake. And I mean this. Somebody's right now probably like, Cross, Bungie got to you. No, it's nothing like that. But I did have some sources confirm a couple of things for me that I do want to share with you guys before closing everything out. Number one, Bungie only briefly entertained making a battle royale. And from what I was told, I mean as briefly as you can think. But Marathon was always an extraction looter shooter. And it actually had its first playable build in January 2020. Now, I think it's important to have dates here. This gives us context. It gives us an understanding of how long it takes for things to come into fruition. But yes, Marathon, as early as January 2020, had people playtesting it. So this isn't just something that Bungie just decided to pick up a year ago and make. Now, the other day when I said that Marathon was originally a battle royale, again, Bungie entertained a BR, but Marathon was always an extraction looter shooter. Now, how we got something like that wrong, let me just say it's much easier to get information from sources in a Discord call versus DMs. Long story short, your man got some things backwards. And saying that Marathon was originally a battle royale, which is outright wrong. I apologize for that. Number two, Bungie's original goal was to have 4 games. Now, it wasn't really explained to me what the scope of those games were going to be, but essentially it was going to be Marathon, Destiny 2, Matter, and another one that would come from the incubation team. Now, for my folks saying, well, Matter is still around, you've got Gummy Bears. Turns out Gummy Bears is not Matter. Matter, at least from my source, was canned in December 2020. Now, it was also stressed to me, though, that things can change quickly. Just because Matter was canned in 2020 doesn't necessarily mean a year from now, Matter is somehow revived. But for the time being, yes, it is canned. Now, does that mean Bungie still wants to have 4 games? Maybe. Marathon, Destiny, Gummy Bears, and perhaps they have something cooking in incubation. Now, the question that I had, the one that I really wanted to know, was Marathon truly going to be Bungie's baby? Or I guess in this case, Bungie's new baby. It was stressed to me multiple times that Destiny was the focus and that the goal was to run all these games at once. This is essentially Bungie's goal. They want multiple games under their belts, all pretty much challenging different genres and cultivating different communities. But the goal was never for Marathon to erase Destiny. Now, I was curious, so I actually pressed and asked the question, What about Matter? I know Matter is canned, and I quote, buried 7 feet under. I asked, what was Matter actually supposed to be? Turns out, it was gonna be something very different. There was gonna be a mix of building. There's also gonna be like a strategy game that incorporated a ton of different elements. And the reason why I bring that up is because even though Matter got canned, I'm not sure if we won't have another project from Bungie that might incorporate those elements. And I was actually told that if I was interested to look up a project called Phoenix. This was a project abandoned by Bungie and was speculated to be a strategy game. And this is pulled right here from Bungie fandom. Fans first suspected the project's existence in 1999 when Bungie made a reference to the team formerly known as Myth 2, implying that the team still existed and therefore still had a project to work on. This comment was the source of the fan nickname TTF Cam 2. Now in 2002, Hardy LaBelle, then Monster Hunter's lead, was moved to the Phoenix team. Alex Serapian and Jason Jones asked LaBelle to work on the project, get the team up and running, and report back on whether it should be killed or not. After the team made a playable build, LaBelle told Serapian and Jones to kill it, so they did. Now in early 2003, Jones told Marty O'Donnell that the team was demoralized, so he became their creative director and project lead, believing that he would run the team once a week and then check back in on Halo 2. But at one point, half of Bungie was working on Phoenix while also working on Halo 2. In mid-2003, the project was killed as a result of the team being absorbed into the Halo 2 team when Bungie realized that the game was in trouble after their E3 demo and they needed all available people working on the game to make the launch date. Now it's interesting. It was as if I was being told two things with this. It was funny, the message I got was simply, look up the Phoenix project. First up, it was speculated to be a strategy game in a fantasy setting. Now again, I have no idea if Matter was actually supposed to be that, but I think it was that last part that interested me the most. When Bungie realized that Halo 2 was in trouble after their E3 demo, that is when they moved the entire studio onto Halo. Now I bring that up because I think it's quite easy to see here, Destiny 2 is in trouble. Now Bungie's already given us the number. Say 650 people are currently working on Destiny 2. Now I'm not sure like what the percentage of that are developers or even what the current split is within Bungie, but it is interesting that they gave us a specific number. And when consider all the people that do work at Bungie, I think it's somewhere around like 1,000 to 1,100. Granted, they just laid off a bunch of people. Keep in mind, a number of those are outside of the development cycle, right? Everything from accounting, finance, economy, marketing. Surprisingly, a lot of the positions that just became vacant, but you get where I'm coming from. Now, I asked the question, why did some of the Destiny 2 developers leave Destiny 2 to go work on Marathon? The answer I surprisingly got, and I know this may just be common sense to some of you, was that they were bored of D2. It was pretty much said that some of those devs had worked on Destiny through various roles for almost 10 years. And it's hard being creative if you're bored of what you're working on, which makes sense, which is why you see people like Scott Taylor and Christopher Barrett and other developers you recognize working on Marathon. Now, I also asked the question, is Destiny 3 really not going to happen? Is it really something that's reliant on Marathon's failure? Pretty much what I was told on this is that all the games that Bungie's working on work independently of each other. But with that being said, things can change in a flash, and not one thing is going to decide whether or not Destiny 3 will ever come to fruition. At least from my conversation on this, guys, what I got is that Destiny 2 and Destiny 3 are in their own wheelhouse, thus the decider of their own fates. So guys, that's pretty much it. That's all the clarifications I want to give. I want to now point the rest of this video to talk about that article, Our Path Forward, and to give my final thoughts. There were a lot of people in the community that were wanting an apology. There were also people stating that the path forward, despite it being the title of this post, didn't exactly show us the path forward, and that this was just a PR statement that was put out to save face. There were some key points in the article that gave me hope, most notably Bungie stating that Forsaken, the Witch Queen, and the Taken King, those being the standard bearers that Bungie aims to live up to. And the fact that Bungie stated that they have 650 people dedicated to pouring all their energy and expertise into delivering this epic moment and subsequent episodes. Guys, I wish we had more here. I wish we had a full-blown TWAB yesterday going over everything that's coming in the future, giving us details about what's going to be going down with the final shape, but we didn't get that. And the reason why I think we didn't get it is because this has been a pretty rough week for Bungie. And even though everyone wants news, how would you feel if Bungie was rolling out a roadmap of the content that's going to be coming next year, right? In light of everything that just happened. Oh yeah, we just laid off 8% of our workforce, but hey guys, the content's going to be popping. Let's get hyped. And as far as them issuing an apology, I don't feel like we need an apology. Like, what the hell is an apology going to do for us? An apology for what? Letting people go? How about you just pay them more severance? Keep the damn apology. Now, I don't know all the details about vested shares, benefits that ran out at the end of the month. Listen, none of us really know. And it's probably changing from employee to employee. Regardless though, I couldn't care less about an apology to us as the community and would rather Bungie just be fair with their employees. And whatever fair means in corporate America at this point. What I will say, I asked the question to my source who the higher ups are at Bungie. Because a lot of people are like, yo, it's Joe. Everybody, boo Joe. It's Pete. Luke Smith. It was expressed to me that the quote unquote higher ups are people we have never seen or heard of before. I think some of you probably know where I'm getting at. Regardless though, I wish we had more news yesterday for sure, simply because I want to know, okay, what exactly are we looking like next year? Is this expansion getting backed up to June? Is it going to get backed up longer? And I feel like Bungie is actually working through those details now. But a lot of people are really jumping up saying we need to boycott Destiny, we need to boycott Bungie, refund the final shape. Aztecross, lead the charge. Guys, I've said it in the past and I'm still saying it now. I'm finishing this thing out. We are going on 10 years. 10 years! And you think I'm gonna get right up to the finish line and say, yeah, I'm good. I'm finishing this thing out. Whether it's the best expansion Bungie has ever given us or the worst expansion. I think if you want a refund, that is a personal choice. You made that for you. If you feel very strongly that you need a refund, by all means, guys, you go right ahead. But don't come over here jumping on me asking why I'm not leading the charge on this boycott. At this point, we're too damn invested. Whether it's a crappy campaign or a crappy expansion or a fantastic one, I'm killing the witness. And then whatever happens afterwards, that will be that. However, I will say, this is just one of those things we're just gonna have to wait and see how it plays out. Truly. And I think that's why this post from Bungie was so short. They know they can't butter us up with words. Words mean nothing right now. It's action time. If the final shape reveal and everything that was shown wasn't enough to hype this community, what makes you think a simple blog post on a random Thursday afternoon is gonna somehow turn the tide? It's not. And even if it did come out, would you even trust it? This is a play it out scenario. Are we probably gonna have a very long season next season? It's very likely. Yes, I do believe that the final shape is in fact going to be delayed, despite Bungie not saying it yet. And they even state there in that post that after the launch of the season, then they'll begin to unpack the team's bigger, bolder, and brighter vision for the final shape. And keep in mind, internally, Bungie stated that the final shape was good, not great. And I don't know about you guys, I am completely fine waiting for great. So guys, let me know in the comments below what you think. These are my final thoughts. Hopefully nothing else comes out. But if you're interested, we will be on a podcast here later with Skilla, Dano, and Bife. Should be some great conversation, so come join us. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.